7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, welcome back into the Vegas Squares podcast. This is our NFL Picks edition for week number
14.
All right, I knew this one, but I still kind of like the new thing we got going on. It is myself and Spike in the studio, and week number 14 here, NFL Picks. I'm not as excited about my picks this week. How you feeling?
So I'm at a point now where I'm kind of behind in this contest that we have. Well, at least in the 7-game contest.
Swinging too?
So, well, I'm not exactly fence swinging. I'm at the point now where I have to say, all right, if these are the picks that I think the other guys are going to pick, what games can I pick and pick safely? And I have one that a moneyline dog that I paired up with Token, and I've got one real game that I paired up with Token. But you and I are completely different. Not only
That might be good for you.
I hope so, yeah. So it's either going to be very good or very bad.
No, yeah, that is true.
And
are we very different, meaning we pick different games, or are we very different, meaning we're opposite sides of the same game?
We pick different games.
Oh, well, that might not.
Yeah, so it could be that we both go 7-0. We both could go 0-7. And
Let's not get ridiculous. We're not that good or that bad.
well,
You've gone 1-6. I've gone 2-5 twice. One of them was Desiree's picks.
Yeah, I've gone 1-6. I haven't gone 0-7. Only Token's done that. But I've also gone 6-1, and nobody else has done that yet. So
Also true. All right, once again, this is our NFL Picks podcast edition. Let's thank the sponsors here. First and foremost, obviously, 12-Ounce Sports, where we air every Friday and Saturday for NCAA, and Sunday for our NFL Picks. It's just you and me in studio. No Token and no fake Token, which I don't know if we'll ever see Token again. I mean, the man's in love.
Ooh.
So, you remember what that was like.
Oh, yeah.
The first person ever to want to touch your pee-pee.
Yeah, no, I got a buddy of mine back home who has proposed to every girl he's seen naked.
That's an interesting ratio.
Yeah. Well, the first
Just
one.
hope he doesn't walk in on his mom in the shower.
The first one was they were about 6 months away from the wedding, and then she said, "You know what? I decided I don't like you anymore, and I don't like men anymore."
Nice.
Yeah, so that one kind of fucked him up for a little bit, and then he ended up proposing to our other friend's friend with benefits, and they're happily married, 2 kids, and have a great life. So
he's batting 500. That's Hall of Famer.
No, that's great ratio for him.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, that's an interesting conundrum. Every girl he's seen naked, it's 2.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of weird stories,
let's hear this.
If you've been following me on Twitter, you can't do it for the next 48 hours at Vegas Squares. I don't even know how to. So stupid Twitter, but yet stupid me. Twitter decided to make a suggestion that says, "Hey, why don't you put in your birthday for your Twitter profile for Vegas Squares?" I thought, well, maybe I should just put in the day that the podcast started. He already knows where this is going.
Yep. All right.
So I put in November 1st, 2017. And Twitter goes, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yep." And like, "Okay." And it like cycles the buffering cycle. And then goes, "Your account's locked because you have to be 13 to have an account on Twitter." And I'm like, "Oh, you sandbagging motherfuckers." So I had to send a copy of my driver's license. And it's a 48-hour waiting period to get the account turned back on.
Interesting, because it's not even showing up at all. Like I tried,
can't search it or anything.
You can't search it. You can't tag it, and that's how I figured it out.
Your account's locked and deactivated.
Yeah, so because there was a new cast joining 12-Ounce Sports, so I put in the "Hey, welcome to the team" or whatever thing, and I was trying to tag Vegas Squares so that you could send the same message too, and it didn't show up. I'm like, "Oh, that's bizarre."
I'm gonna be 2 days late to that welcome wagon.
Yeah.
So that was my.
Right.
When you said, "Did you delete your account?" I said, "Well, technically yes, but no, I didn't delete it." So Right now, if you want, I've set aside a new Twitter that I've been putting pics on for a while at LV Square. I've just put them off to the side because for a while I was doing pics on the Vegas Squares podcast thing, and I didn't want to always just think it's just me. If we had pics, I wanted to say who they were from. So anyways, I put off aside. But, for 48 hours, if you want to follow us on there or at Spike McAwesome, you could do that. I know, Spike is cursing his cell phone. But, that's not really anything new, is it? I know Spike has a beauty salon appointment to get to, so we'll run through these games. With no tokens, this could take not that much time at all.
Yeah.
Let's update the standings here real quick, and then I'll get into the games.
In the 7-gamer right now, Aaron's currently in the lead with 63 points. Fake Token is solidly in second at 58. I am currently in third at 56. Real Token has finally surpassed the random dice at sitting at 46 points, and the dice are in dead last at 42 points. And for win-loss total, you and I are actually tied at 44 and 47, so sitting right below 500 there. Fake Token 41 and 50, and then Real Token is way behind the dice.
In his words, who the fuck cares?
Yeah, but in the 3-gamer right now, I do have a 3-point lead over.
That still blows my mind.
Both the tokens, and you are sitting in dead last, 7 points behind me.
Still boggles my mind. I'm in first in the 7 and last in the 3.
Yeah.
So all right, well. Without further ado, we'll start in Buffalo with a game I'm kind of interested in seeing, especially because it's supposed to be bad weather. Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are a 6-point road favorite. Buffalo, despite beating Dallas, I understand that win's getting a little less impressive after Thursday's debacle, but I still believe Buffalo's got a good squad. They're probably headed for the playoffs, and this is one of their real tests. They're not going to have a home playoff game against Baltimore, but they're going to maybe play Baltimore. Baltimore 6-point road favorite, total 44.
Yeah, so this is a weird one for me. As a New England fan, I don't know how to root for this game just as a fan. Because with Buffalo,
you gotta wonder, because you get one more head-to-head with Buffalo, you gotta want them to win.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm thinking that you kind of want them to win, but at the same time, New England has a tough matchup that we'll talk about later with Kansas City. So it would be nice to have that buffer if Buffalo loses, and then you can get that. But then at the same time, you need Baltimore to lose.
Still first in the AFC East if they lose.
Yeah, but it's much, much tighter. And
well, of course, you're tied with the tiebreaker.
Yeah,
with a game left to play.
It's just tough. But then if Baltimore loses, New England takes over the number 1 seed in the AFC again.
If they win.
Assuming they win against Kansas City. So it's a very strange game for me as a fan. I do have a play on this, but against the total, which we'll talk about at the end, I guess.
No, you can talk about yours. We'll give tokens picks at the end because I know everybody's got a pen and paper ready.
Okay, so yeah, that's fine.
I don't have a play on this one. But I'm interested in watching.
Yeah, so right now, I think this is the kind of game where we've got two good defenses, one really good offense, and one okay offense that isn't making a lot of mistakes right now. So what I'm looking at is trying to figure out if these teams are going to be able to move the ball consistently and if they're going to be able to do so with any kind of effectiveness. And I'm not entirely sure that is going to be the case. I know that even with Kyle Allen or Josh Allen not making a lot of mistakes, I'm still not completely convinced that against a defense as good as Baltimore's has looked at the last couple of weeks that they're going to be able to score and score consistently. And Baltimore, for as good as they have looked, I'm not entirely sure that they've seen a defense that, like Buffalo's, that is consistent and can kind of stop that ground and pound type game. So I'm rolling with the under 44 in this spot, and I think we're going to see the kind of game. It's probably going to get right around that number, but I think it's going to be like a missed field goal or a couple of missed extra points, or one of those missed extra points that you have to go for 2 and they fuck that up. I think that's going to be the key in this game to keep the total under the 44.
Yeah, I got to say, if Buffalo wants to hang in this, it's going to have to be a steady dose of Frank Gore, Devin Singletary, and Josh Allen running the football. No disrespect to the pass game, but pass game stops the clock. Ineffective pass game gives the ball back to Baltimore. And, well, we've been seeing that offense. I've doubted them all year. I'm not doubting them in this spot. That's why ultimately I laid off this game. Quick thought, comments on that Tim Ryan guy's comments on have you heard about his comments on Lamar Jackson that got him suspended?
No, I don't think I did hear that.
So effectively on a radio show, he basically said that Lamar Jackson running the read pass option is tough because he's got a dark jersey, and dark skin. So it hides the football. Well, yeah, everyone. The cancel culture came out of the woodwork. Now, look, I get what he's saying. It's just, that's just one of those. It's 2019, unfortunately, and you're going to get a game for that.
That's you got to know better than that. I mean,
if he'd have just stopped at dark jersey, he'd have been fine.
Yeah.
But Richard Sherman, of all people, came to Tim Ryan's defense and said, he's absolutely right. I mean, of all people. I mean, Richard Sherman. So anyways, long story short, I didn't know if you had heard about that throughout the day. It was a big topic on sports radio for like Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, yeah, no, I don't typically pay attention, at least not to the national stuff when it comes to the sports radio thing. I try to focus mostly on the Boston stuff just because I'm such a homer that I stick with that.
Gotcha. All right, this is another game. I tell you what, you know how I've said this for the last couple weeks? It was hard to find 7 games this week, especially knowing, well, I know token strategy, swing for the moon.
Yeah.
But you're right. I started to think about, hey, what can I do to kind of either... The thing is I can either try to align myself with your picks or try to figure out how to continue to press forward. It's like play the prevent defense or do I continue to attack?
Right.
So another one I ultimately just felt copious amounts of stink on is this Washington-Green Bay game. Washington has looked like they've had a pulse the last couple of weeks. They're getting 13 on the road in Lambeau. This is the time of the year where weather's just going to get nasty, and Lambeau's notorious for that. 42.5 is the total. I mean, Green Bay is not necessarily in a dogfight, but Minnesota lost. They're going to obviously be in panic mode. You can't really afford to really have a scare in this one if you're A-Rod and the boys.
Sure, and I'm like you. I laid off this one. If I were to lean one way or the other, I'd probably actually take Washington plus.
Biggest spread of the week.
Yeah, and it's not just that. I think right now it's probably premature to say this because it is only one game, but they spent 2 games for a total rushing attack of 140 yards. Last week they ran for almost 250. So I think that kind of ground and pound, and just like we said about the Buffalo attack, that ground and pound for Washington would keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, and it does more to control the clock. It does more to keep the game
keeps
close.
the ball out of Dwayne Haskins' hands too.
That is also true. So that's the kind of thing where if you were looking for a play, I think that's probably it. I actually just got Fake Tokens picks, and he is on this game rolling with the under 42.5. I haven't checked the weather report, which I know Fake Token likes quite a bit, and that may have something to do with it. But he, if you're looking at the Green Bay plus the Washington plus the 13, if it's going to be bad weather out, then you can absolutely parlay that with the under and probably feel pretty confident about it.
Yeah, it's a fair assessment. Well, good to hear we got Fake Tokens picks. You can read his off at the end as well too. It's nice to have Insta picks.
Yeah. We'll try to put these in now while we're talking and try to concentrate on what you're saying too.
Oh boy, I'll be just talking to myself,
bitch,
and a wall.
Yeah.
You could always just put them in after. You'd be all right.
I like having them in front of me though, so I can read them off,
so that you can not send them to us before like Monday afternoon.
Yeah. Well,
jerk. All right, Denver and Houston. This game, for whatever reason, I absolutely love. Houston's riding high, beating the Patriots. They could do anything they want against that team. You got a Denver team who I've had on my DNBL list, but I've bet them the last 3 weeks in a row. So take that for data, I guess. The total is 42.5. Houston is a 9-point favorite. That thing opened up at 7.5. Has moved up 1.5 points. I got to imagine that's because of the. Beatdown's the right word, even though the score was a little closer. I think they put it to New England last week. In this spot, a fun trend has so far really been blindly betting Denver unders. And I think I'm going to do that. I think Denver's going to find a way to do what New England couldn't do and kind of slow down this Houston offense. So give me the under, 42.5.
So I'm going to disagree with 2 points that you just made. One being that you had trouble finding games that you liked this week, because I found about 9 or 10 that I really liked.
That's not disagreeing with it. That's just...
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, I found a lot more spots that I liked. I actually had to take one pick that I really loved out because I realized I hadn't picked a total, and we are required to pick a total.
That's true.
As far as our contest goes. And the other side of this is that, or the other part that I'm disagreeing with you on is that I hate this game because I feel that this is exactly the kind of game where, if you feel that Houston's riding high because of that win against New England, that Denver should easily cover, or,
Yeah, I didn't say all that.
But it's just
I just feel like the Texans are such a Jekyll and Hyde team that because they performed so well. I mean, look, I watched the game. Yes, they only won by 6, but that game was out of reach, out of hand, and I just feel like Denver's defense seems to schematically fit better against Houston. That's not a disrespect or a slight to New England. It seems that Denver's defense has actually played very solid against a lot of opponents this year. And, you never, it's like the NFL. You never get too high on a game. You never get too low on a game. Every week, although trendy, really kind of can be independent.
that is completely true. So,
You
yeah.
didn't hear a fucking word I said.
Yeah, no, you said every week is independent, and, the trends are kind of, I don't want to say meaningless, but it is,
Right.
It is like the spin of a roulette wheel. One game doesn't really affect the outcome of another, unless we're talking major injuries or whatever.
Also true. Yeah, and I don't think I don't put a lot of faith in Brandon Allen for Denver's offense. So I mean, again, do not bet list means that I'm going to bet them 3 weeks in a row, or at least bet a part of their game. So are you on this one?
I am not.
You said you hated it, right? Okay.
Yeah, the dice are on it, but we can talk about their picks at the
We'll
end.
give the dice picks at the end. Here's another good one. Brady and Garoppolo, San Francisco and New Orleans. The Saints are a 2-point favorite, total 44.5. This is a game I want to be on. That's what she said. But I would rather kind of hope that you guys all went on this game because it's the game of I would say it's the game of the morning. Drew Brees and Garoppolo, both teams 10-2. I wasn't 100% confident which way to go, so ultimately I laid off, but I was leaning toward New Orleans in the points,
And
minus the points.
though you said that you hoped all of us are on this, I am the only one on this.
That's okay, too.
So, yeah, and that's one of the ones where we're very different, and I'm actually taking San Francisco. I think that whenever we've seen New Orleans go up against a team with a stout defense, that their offense struggles, and I think that's exactly what they're going to see out of San Francisco. I think Garoppolo, game management, Garoppolo is playing well enough that they should be able to keep this game close, maybe even win it outright, but the money line's not big enough for a bonus point in our contest. So for me, even though they're going on the road to essentially the East Coast, it's in a dome, which, is...
No weather affected.
Yeah, no weather, and... it's also, the books are essentially saying that if this were played on a neutral field, it would be San Francisco -1. So I think San Francisco is the slightly better play in this spot. So I'll take the Niners plus the 2 points.
Fair enough. Yeah, if I have another lean too, I probably like the over in this spot. I'm thinking somewhere around 31-27 that we're going to get. I'm gonna give the nod to New Orleans simply because of the crowd. It's going to be loud. It's going to be ferocious, and I'm not sure Jimmy Garoppolo can handle that, to be honest with you. So Cincinnati and Cleveland. Oh, this is like the girlfriend that you turn the light off every time you want to have sex.
I've had a few of those. Not gonna lie.
Just hope they're not current. Otherwise, you got some explaining to do when you get home.
No.
Cincinnati and Cleveland. Cleveland is a touchdown favorite at home against Cincinnati, who put Andy Dalton back in to get their first win against the Jets. Not really sure what they're doing. I'm guessing that Zach Taylor, the new coach, just wanted to get the monkey off of his back at that point. He didn't want to go 0-16 in his first year.
Right, and
Because they're still in the driver's seat for the number 1 pick.
Right.
Total is 41.5.
And even if he goes 0-16, regardless of whether or not he's a rookie coach, that's a stink that you can't get off. But the problem then becomes, if you're a rookie coach, you go 0-16, it becomes that much harder to get the free agents that you need to help rebuild this team. Obviously draft picks don't really have a choice unless they want to sit out. But for free agents, it becomes much more difficult for them. But I am.
Question, let me ask you this. I know you don't super follow college football.
Correct.
But basically at this point, let's just say Cincinnati locks up the number 1 pick. They're going to draft and not trade it. If you're Cincinnati with their personnel, do you take a quarterback, best available, Joe Burrow, you could say Tua, Justin Herbert, or the best arguable player in the draft is Chase Young out of Ohio State? Defensive presence that can get around the end and terrorize people Lawrence Taylor style. What do you do?
Yeah.
You can always pick up Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick,
I say that jokingly. But my point being is that,
I get what you're
franchise
saying.
cornerstone D-end or put all your eggs in a number 1 pick that if it's Joe Burrow, really just came onto the scene this year.
Yeah.
A la Mitch Trubisky.
It's tough, and you really have to evaluate if you think that you can get out of anything more out of Dalton next year, or if you can get more out of Finley, or if you can trade for a quarterback. Do you think that you can, trade for Cam Newton? Do you think that you can trade for
Tom Brady? You can sign Tom Brady in free agency.
If Tom Brady decides to test free agency, which is,
it's seeming
crazy
more
story.
Realistic by the day, though.
There's
weird,
a lot. There's a lot to unpack.
Tom
in that
Brady
game.
in a Bengal uniform.
Oh my God! Yeah, it kind of make me sick. I actually have a buddy of mine from Boston who's a big Bengals fan, and he's been shitting on Brady for the last 20 years or so. So if he goes to Cincinnati, I can't wait to hear how he tries to spin that. I can't wait. But, it would be difficult because you also, obviously the offense that they have now that's written for Dalton and Finley probably isn't going to fit somebody like Tua, so you'd have to look for somebody like Georgia's quarterback there.
Jake Fromm.
I
like him a lot. Me and Tony Johnson butt heads on our assessment of him.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that you have to look for is that do you want to completely redo the offense for somebody like Tua, or do you want to go for somebody like a Fromm or, another kind of pocket, traditional
Sure. I mean,
quarterback.
it's a lot more in-depth than just sitting here and go, hey, who you want?
Yeah, but in that regard, I think that the team is probably better situated to draft the quarterback and use the offense they have and then try to find defensive players that fit their current system. Because, we've seen, and I hate to keep harping on the Patriots, but obviously I'm a fan, they've never gone out and signed that big-name splash free agent defensive player, except in the secondary. They'll occasionally pick up a cornerback like a Stephon Gilmore or Keeb Talib, Darrelle Revis, those kinds of players. But for the most part, that defensive front seven, they're always going to be sort of role players, kind of no-name guys and guys that will go out there and get the job done. And I think Cincinnati can do that as well, as long as they have the right front office that can recognize talent like that. That said,
Chase Young's a bad man.
This game is a game that I am on, and I am swinging for the fences on this one. Give me the Bengals to win 2 in a row. Bengals money line plus 260 in the spot.
You and your brother Andy.
I am.
You got faith in Andy?
It's more that I have zero faith in Mayfield. And I am not convinced that team is anything to write home about. I'm not convinced that this is a team that knows what they're doing. I have no faith in the coach. I have no faith in the quarterback. And when that happens, it's just one of those games where I can't, I can't feel comfortable picking Cleveland minus that. I don't even know that I could, I've been touting on this the last couple of weeks.
The public would agree, or the money would agree with you. It's come down from 10.5, opened up.
If you're doing one of those, 6-7 game parlays and you want to throw another leg on there, a lot of people are probably thinking Cleveland money line, and I don't know that I could even trust Cleveland to win this game. So I'm taking Cincinnati plus 260, going for a couple of bonus points on this one.
Which quarterback has been more disappointing, Baker Mayfield with the amount of weapons that he has, or Dak Prescott with the amount of weapons that he has? Both had expectation.
The difference between the two, I think, right now
Talking.
is that the only thing that you have to change in Dallas to make Dak successful is the head coach. And I think in Cleveland it's going to take a little bit more than that, because I think the offensive line needs a little bit of work, and I'd like to see them get a little more running help behind Chubb.
Well, in fairness, I do think that super expensive Dallas Cowboy offensive line is starting to age a little bit.
They are.
They're showing it. Tyron Smith is he's got braces over every fucking ligament. So, all right, yeah, no play for me on this one. We'll move forward. Good luck with your Cincinnati bet.
Yes.
Carolina and Atlanta. Atlanta's a 3.5-point favorite in this spot. Ron Rivera was fired, as I found out through you.
Yep.
Through text message. It came a little bit prematurely for a lot of people. They thought he'd let him finish the season. But David Tepper decided he's going to start the search in Week 14. But they still got to play some football here. I'm curious, even despite the coach not being there, why Atlanta is a favorite in this spot. I understand they're home. Yes, they had a nice little 3-week stretch. They beat them last time. I think Carolina is also kind of a dumpster fire. I don't know. I guess you're just home field advantage at this spot. Me personally, Carolina's getting a 160 money line here in this spot. And generally in sports, the game after a coach is fired, in most of the major 4 sports, that team ends up winning the game. So that's the only logic I have in this.
Okay. I mean, that's not...
And it's a bonus point.
Yeah, the bonus point definitely helps, but we've seen that in hockey this year, too, where Toronto went out and they actually put up...
like 4 in a row.
Yeah, they put up a little bit of a win streak after Babcock got fired, but Babcock was such a cancerous presence in that locker room that...
Yeah, John Hines just got fired by the Devils, but they did not win. They lost in overtime to the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
But generally, you'll find... after a coach is fired, I think what happens is all of the people who are on that team who have probably been going through the motions are like, oh shit, I might be next.
So I'm not on this game, so
Well, I have Carolina money line, so you can go.
Yeah, so this is the kind of game that I'm not super excited about. I am starting Matt Ryan in fantasy, but I couldn't pick a side in this one because I actually looked at it from the standpoint of teams do better when head coaches get fired. So I kind of thought of it like that, but then I realized that these two teams played each other about 3 weeks ago, and Atlanta beat the fucking shit out of them.
Yes, they did.
So I couldn't feel comfortable
And
picking
then
Carolina.
Washington, who had no semblance of offense, with the exception of Darius Guice, also walked in and beat Carolina too. Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason or logic to why I'm taking this, other than a coach fired usually means a victory for that team, and they're getting a bonus point. So I took a shot here. All right, Detroit and Minnesota. Here's another ugly one I didn't want to be on. Minnesota coming off that Monday night game where I actually thought they looked halfway decent until a couple of weird turnovers, and the game kind of stopped on a dime. Minus 13 against Detroit. We have no Matt Stafford. We have no Jeff Driscoll. We're getting David Blau again, the undrafted rookie out of Purdue. Total 43.5 in this spot. No play for me, but if I had to be on a side, I'd probably be on the over.
That's not a bad play. I'm not on this one either. I had put Detroit on my do not bet list, and then I went back on that 2 weeks ago, and they were my only blemish in my 6-1 week. The Vikings were the last team I needed for a 7 or 8 team parlay, which would have turned $5 into, I don't know, over 1,000, I think.
I would imagine you hedged.
I did not.
What a punk.
Yeah, no, I decided I was going to run it. Or no, it wasn't over 1,000. It was good money because I had a couple of dog money lines on there that came in. But anyway, the point is I couldn't trust. I can't trust either of these teams. I stayed off this game. I think this is, I'm looking at covers.com. They have a predictive score on here of 27-17. I have no idea how Detroit scores 17 points. I don't know how they're going to do it.
Well, with Blau against Chicago's defense, they put up 20. I'm not saying that, let's not get ridiculous. I mean, Minnesota's defense is probably about as good as Chicago's defense, maybe a hair better. The game's in the Dome again, so you're not looking at a weather issue. That's why I like the over. I think Detroit is good for about 14 to 17 points. I'm thinking if I had to lay on the number, I've been thinking 31-14 Minnesota covers. They got to play football now because losing to Seattle on Monday night, they have now, coupled with the Bears on Thursday, they have now let the Bears one game behind them.
Yeah.
I mean, we wrote off the Bears, a month ago, and now the Bears are back in it. They went from 1% chance to make the playoffs to 2% chance to make the playoffs by beating Dallas last
They're
week.
getting up there.
Yeah. So
I have a voicemail.
all right, this seems like it's a token Tony play to the max. Miami and the Jets. The Jets are a 5.5-point favorite. Total is 46 in this spot. I overanalyzed the Jets-Bengals game last week and then ended up just going with my first instinct, which was the Jets -3, and we all know how that went. Because for whatever reason, I didn't take into account that the Jets are 1-5 on the road, and they're completely terrible. Yes, they have lost to Miami before, but they're back at home. So I laid the Jets 5.5.
Yeah, actually, tokens on this one, and I am on this one. And the dice are on this one as well. Fake token's the only one that stayed off this. The dice are on the total. But, yeah, this is one where this is just me swinging for the fences. I have absolutely no reason to play Miami moneyline plus 200, aside from the fact that I just need points to try to catch up on the 7-gamer. That is just a 1-point swing, but, again, it's one that I need.
Yeah, I know, fair. I can't remember what 200 was.
Yeah, I think 225 is the threshold for that second bonus point.
Got it. All right, well, so we'll...
I used to be able to go onto the Vegas Squares Twitter account because that was a pinned tweet. I could just check the rules, but...
2 days from now, you will. Maybe, if they accept my identification. Your name's not Vegas Squares. Ow. Come on, chill. All right, Indianapolis and Tampa Bay. This game was interesting. I understand that basically Indianapolis is a walking injured reserve. Again, going into Tampa Bay, who's been playing decently lately, 3.5 points. Your thoughts on that one? I mean, that's just right off the bat. This seems to me more like closer to a pick'em. 46.5 the total. So
this is one of two games that I thought was going to be a consensus pick amongst everybody, which is why I stayed away from it. This is a game that I'm betting Indianapolis money line. In real money, so away from these contests, but I figured that this is a game that everybody is going to be on, and I was kind of right.
I'm on it.
Yeah, you have it. I thought that the tokens would have gone the same way that you did. They did not, so we can talk about that at the end, but... Yeah, I like Indianapolis in this spot quite a bit. I think famous Jameis is keeping the turnover machine going, and I think this is a very good spot for Indianapolis to come out and win maybe convincingly, because I think we're going to see some defensive touchdowns out of them. So I definitely like Indianapolis on this spot, but since I figured everybody else did too, I kept it off my 7 and 3 gamer.
Fair enough. Well, then I guess I will not beat around the bush anymore. I have bet Indianapolis money line getting that plus 150. I see 28-27 Colts. They're down late. Jacoby Brissett leads them on the game-winning drive to break Tampa's hearts and end their playoff chances. All right, let's move forward. We'll move into the late game. Start with this clunker. Chargers and Jacksonville. We get the return of Mustache Minshew. That's kind of exciting. Yeah, and this is a game that both Fake Token and I are on, and on the same line, which is why when I got his picks, you saw me giving my phone the middle finger, because I was really hoping that I would be the only one on this one. Interesting scenario / question. Are the LA Chargers hoping that Gardner Minshew gets hurt so that Nick Foles comes in so they could scout him to trade for him and get rid of Phillip Rivers next year?
It wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to move on from Phillip Rivers.
They've got to. I mean, the Spanos are known for being cold-hearted people. Look what they did to the whole city of San Diego.
But they're also loyal to a fault to their team. Look how long they held on to that head coach, what's his name? The guy that they had a bunch of runs back in like 05, 06, 07, could never get past the Patriots.
You mean Schottenheimer when they fired him after he went 14-2?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had no loyalty to him. He went 14-2 and they fired him.
But they had held on to him for far too long. He should have been fired 5 years before that, because he could just never get over the hump. He's an Andy Reid. He's a Jason Garrett. He just can't get that team to the next level.
Better, though. That's the thing. Not every coach is Belichick. I mean, look at McVay. They're already ready to write him off, too, now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, he's the one-trick pony, and once the league figured him out, then, he's useless.
Yeah, the league will always figure you out, it seems. So -3 in favor of the Chargers. Total 42.5 in this spot. I couldn't find a side I would even close my eyes and throw money at.
Yeah, this is a need the bonus point pick for me, and I think that because Gardner Minshew has been on the bench, maybe he's learned a couple of things by sitting back and watching what to do and what not to do by watching Nick Foles.
Yeah, he knows how to calculate time of possession.
So I'm at a point where I think, and I have no faith whatsoever in the Chargers, even though at the beginning of the season I bet them to win the West. That was dead by about week 6 because they can't get their fucking act together. So I'm taking the Minshew Miracle Jacksonville money line plus the 150, and we're swinging for the bonus point there.
That's fair. All right, Pittsburgh and Arizona. Pittsburgh a 1.5-point favorite. We got a new quarterback in Pittsburgh, Duck Hodges, who is now the first quarterback in Pittsburgh Steelers history to win his first 2 starts, going up against Kyler Murray and the Arizona team who has lost 4 in a row, I believe. The total is the Westgate line is 1.5. There is no total.
No total at the Westgate?
I'll be okay with the Mirage total at 43.5 if anybody put it up there.
I was just about to say, because Fake Token's the only one on this game, and he's on the total, 43.5.
Yeah, we'll give it to him.
Okay, so that's fine then. Yeah, this was a weird spot for me. Not a game that I wanted to touch, because I just think that it's, Pittsburgh's obviously on their 7th quarterback of the year, and Arizona's still running the rookies. So
they're on their 3rd, but theoretically they're 4th because they had a backup in Josh Dobbs that they traded, and then Roethlisberger got hurt. Then you had Rudolph, obviously. So theoretically they're on their 4th, but the 3rd one to play.
Right. Okay. I don't know. Just not something I feel confident in. I kind of like. If I was, if we were doing the had to pick every game like we did last year, I'd probably roll with Pittsburgh just because I think their defense is probably good enough to contain Murray. But, this is just a weird game for me, kind of a strange matchup that not something I ever would have asked for from the league, and not something that I would spend time watching.
I'm kind of a little intrigued in it. I mean, Kyler Murray, an up-and-coming, obviously an up-and-coming cornerstone of the league. And had his team playing well for a little while. They've hit a little bit of a month-long skid, and you kind of expected that, especially with a rookie quarterback and a poor defense against a guy who, I don't know why, secretly sometimes I like Pittsburgh's model. That you want to talk about loyalty. They're very loyal to their team and their players and their coaches. To be honest with you, I really want to take Arizona in the spot. There's just no value in picking either of it. There's no value in the money line. Obviously, there's not an extra bonus point. And there's a realistic chance that this game is close, but Pittsburgh wins by 2 to 3 points, and I'm losing that bet. I think Arizona can win this game. I think they will win this game. But there's just no value in taking them in this spot, in my opinion.
I'm with you.
So I stayed away ultimately.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
All right, Tennessee and Oakland. Tennessee, this is an interesting game, too, because I think both teams at this point really are on that cusp of playoff contention. And this game, again, won't mathematically eliminate them, but will put both of these teams in a tremendous hole trying to navigate the last 3 weeks of the season. Oakland is very good at home. Again, the line right now is Tennessee 2.5 points, total 47.5. Oakland is 4-1 at home, straight up, and Tennessee is just very average on the road. 3-3 against the spread. Tennessee is riding high. Derrick Henry is the only running back in the last 20 years, actually 15 years, to rush for 145 yards and a touchdown for 3 straight games. He could make it 4, which would make him the only running back in all time. Do you know either of the other two?
Oh, God, absolutely not.
One in the 50s, one in the 70s. Yeah. One in the 50s is probably pretty easy to get.
That's probably Jim Brown then.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. 70s, I would have no idea.
Franco Harris.
Ah, okay.
So, I ultimately have a play on this. I'm thinking that we look at the defensive side of the ball, get some great defensive play from both teams. I think, obviously, Oakland's game plan will be to shut down Derrick Henry. and make Ryan Tannehill beat you, which lately he's been playing well. I'm going to say that Ryan Tannehill's due for a clunker. We get a lot of bad drives under 47.5.
So I agree with you that Oakland's game plan is going to be to shut down Henry. Tennessee's game plan is going to be to shut down Jacobs. So if that is the case, it comes down to the quarterbacks, and I think Tannehill versus Carr means that Tannehill is probably the better play in this spot. Tannehill...
Weird to think. We wouldn't have said that a year ago.
No, oh God, no. But, I mean, he has flourished in this Tennessee system. Currently 12 touchdowns, 4 picks, throwing at about 75% accuracy, which is absurd.
Maybe Mariota to the Bengals.
So, Oh, I completely forgot about Mariota.
He's going to be available.
Yeah. So, for me, this is a spot. I am on this game. I am on Tennessee minus the 2.5. I think this is a kind of back and forth type game. But I like I just said, I think Tannehill is the better play. I think Carr makes a mistake late that costs Oakland the game, and this is a game that keeps Tennessee in the talk for that AFC South. So I definitely like the Tennessee Tannehills in this spot.
Tennessee Tannehills. All right, and the game of the 4 o'clock hour Eastern time is obviously the aforementioned New England Patriots versus Kansas City. Oh, crap, the game's down to 3. I had 3.5. Bummer. That's okay. I guess we'll be changing that. New England, a 3-point favorite. Total 49.5. That's a very high total for an offense in New England that struggled. We're going to have weather, like we always do in the Northeast.
Yep.
Yeah, what do you thought? I mean, I got to imagine you've thought about this game once or twice this week, because I know, because I listen to and read, a lot of EEI and stuff like that, and they're worried.
Everybody's worried, and that's kind of the problem. Is that, and this is the second game that I thought would be a consensus pick, but it ended up not looking that way. Oh, I got to check something. Anyway, so very strange spot, especially the way New England looked last week with their offense struggling, to have them as a 3-point favorite against a Kansas City offense that can put up points in bunches. I know that Kansas City's defense, historically over the last year and a half, hasn't been anything to write home about, but they have looked better in the last couple of games. So it's one of those games that you kind of have to flip a coin over. If New England had Antonio Brown, I would say New England wins in a laugher. Since they don't, I think that's what makes this game so interesting and so close.
It's funny you say that. Deion Sanders on Twitter and on his little primetime show that he does keeps saying that the Patriots are going to make a big splash before the playoffs.
Yes, then they probably mean that they're bringing in either AB, because he has been, sincere in his contrition about what he did and everything else.
And let's be honest. If you're bringing him back, you're just using him, and I think he's okay with that.
And that's totally fine. I think the only other option that's out there that can help this offense is Des Bryant, but I don't think they have the cap space for that.
Well, I imagine he would be a vet minimum.
Yeah, he would have to be. I still don't know that they have the cap space
now,
for that.
if they bring back Antonio Brown, do they reactivate his contract?
Yes.
Do they have to re-sign him?
I think they reactivate his old contract.
Because he's on the books.
Right, so he's already on the books. So it essentially costs them nothing to bring back AB. The problem is, because of the allegations against AB are in the same...
And his comments against Robert Kraft.
And his actions are in the same ballpark as Robert Kraft's actions at the spa in Miami, which is why...
I can't agree with that, but go on.
Well,
If Robert Kraft was involved in sex trafficking, we can be in the ballpark.
Right.
Just going to a spa and getting your dick wet. Hey, we got Spring Mountain Road over here in Vegas.
Yeah,
so you can do
okay.
That.
That's fair. It's just,
rape allegations. And
it's the same sexual nature.
Fair enough.
Between the two allegations. One. We'll get it. Yeah,
sexual crimes.
We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty.
We'll throw it all in one episode of SVU.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing that kind of worries me, is that I think that Brady wants him back, Belichick wants him back. I think the offense, the entire New England offense wants him back. I think it's Kraft shutting it down.
Yeah, and I think Belichick and team may go to Kraft and say, "Look, do you want a ring, or are you trying to hold on to this pride right now?"
Yeah, so I
dignity
think
or whatever.
I think that is the problem that is that's holding up this whole thing.
It's crazy how you have virtually, you have Dorsett, you have it's Gronk.
Well, it's Gronk and it's
amazing.
AB. The problem is that Edelman is a great number 2, except he's being covered as a number 1.
N'Keal Harry's a rookie. Dorsett's not much.
Yeah, Dorsett's a good number 4. He's being covered as a number 3. Sanu's a good number 3. He's being covered as a number 2.
Speaking of Sanu, you and I talked. He wasn't even in the game. Half the game.
It's ridiculous.
What are they doing there?
This is, and part of the problem is that Brady takes a while to develop chemistry with receivers. We've seen that historically.
You got a 6'4" Adonis. And you could find that guy.
Well, and this offense takes a long time to learn. As much as I shit over Josh McDaniels, it is a very complicated offense. It's one that takes a long time to learn. And we've seen how many veterans come in
and have issues
and have problems and can't learn it, and they're like 2 games and done.
I'll tell you what, they don't look like a complicated offense right now.
They really don't. I mean, but and the other part of it is that Brady is missing receivers by 5 and 10 yards. I mean, he's throwing the ball to where receivers aren't. So there's only 3 logical explanations that I can think of, and I don't know which one is correct, and nobody's going to, this is all speculation, obviously. But number 1, I think Brady's hurt. And I know that he just came off the injury report, but I think there's something seriously wrong with his arm that is preventing him from making the good throw. The second option is that the receivers are just not learning the playbook, and they're kind of running around crazy, and they're getting their signals mixed up, and that is killing the offense. And I think the third option is the one that is the least likely, but the one that's going to get the most talk because people just like to be the speculative sort, is that Brady is trying to get out of his contract and leave this team at the end of the year.
Well, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so it's not really like trying to get out. He doesn't have to play bad to do it.
Well, but it's one of those where I think he's trying to play to the point where Belichick and the team will lowball him to the point where he can walk away kind of guilt-free.
I think he might be one of the only people who could walk away guilt-free in this spot, whether he won a Super Bowl or they lost in the in a wild card or divisional round. I mean, if God forbid he wins a 7th, okay, thanks for the memories. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, well,
it's fair. I get what you're saying, though. You have to look at every possible angle because he doesn't seem as fired up and pissed as he used to.
Yeah.
He just seems like, well, this is kind of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, and, this is, his second year in the league, they went 9-7, and that's the last time that a Brady-led team has won under...
single-digit games.
Yeah, the one under 10, maybe even under 11. I can't remember if they ever went 10-6.
You can look that up while I tell you my pick here. Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of all of that. I would like to petition the board here, which is apparently just you.
All right.
I took the Chiefs money line and +3. I actually had it at 3.5. I'm willing to eat the 3, but the money line has moved to 145.
Ah, so you want to put in a different pick now for that?
No, I still want the pick. I want the point. At the time I picked my picks, it was 150.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm willing to eat the half point on the spread for the 5 cents on the money line. Hey, if the Pats win by 4, I lose 2 bets.
I mean, that's true.
I'm trying to plead my case to the court here.
The difference is that I have, because I'm taking the Pats on the 3-gamer. Actually, if it moved to 3, then I'm still stuck at 3.5 on the 3-gamer because of the way
Correct.
that we have that set up.
It's up to you, man.
Yeah. All right, I'll be nice this once.
Okay.
I mean, it's not something that we've done the entire rest of the season, which is why I'm hesitant about it.
We've done it a couple times. I think we gave Token a spot.
Yeah, but I mean, that's Token. He has no chance of keeping
Hey,
up.
everyone's treated equally on this podcast, kind of.
Nah, they're very much not.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well,
And you know what? You could have been outvoted by the others, but they chose to take a mental health day.
That's true, yeah.
So, all right. Well, so we're good.
Yeah,
Well, that will round out my picks. I have the Chiefs plus 150 for the bonus, and plus 3 now. So.
Yeah, I have to hope New England holds on to this one. Not that we know who their fucking kicker is at this point, which
I
is...
believe Nick Folk. I think I saw that last night. I think they brought back Nick Folk.
They haven't brought him back. The rumor is they are going to, but they haven't officially signed him to bring him back.
Oh, I thought I saw that confirmed. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
You are right.
so-
I looked at it briefly, so I could be incorrect in that spot.
And my dad is convinced that they are not going to bring on a kicker. They are going to have their rookie punter Bailey do all of the field goal and extra point kicking.
Yeah, well, it might. I mean, with the way they've kicked this year, that might not be the worst decision. So, all right, Sunday night football, an interesting one. Seattle at 10-2 leads the West against the Rams here, who are fighting for their playoff lives. Home game for the Rams. It is a pick'em.
No idea why this is a pick'em.
Yeah, well,
no idea
that's
whatsoever.
true. That's fair. That's an interesting. These games. The first game they played, I believe, it was on Sunday night or Monday night, was a dogfight up in Seattle, back and forth. I think it was like 33-31 last game they played. Now we've got a total of 47 in this spot. I have no play, and I'm kind of happy for that because something tells me I like the Rams, but I'm done betting against my boo thing.
Yeah, and tokens on this one. I'm on this one. The dice are on this one. And I am rolling with your fiance. I think Seattle is playing great football. I think this is a home field for Los Angeles means absolutely nothing. That stadium is filled with visiting fans to about 60 to 70%. I'm just not convinced that this is a LA Rams team that can do anything. I know that they're going to start running the ball more. McVay just had that famous quote where they said, "Why are you playing Todd Gurley more?" And McVay said, "Because I'm not an idiot."
Why aren't you, or why are you?
They said, why are you playing Gurley more? And he said, because I'm not an idiot. Because Gurley had been on a pitch count for like 12 carries a game for the first part of the season. It was ridiculous. There's no reason for that. The problem is that Seattle, I shit all over them for picking up Rashard Penny instead of helping out that offensive line. Between him and Carson, their running attack has looked unstoppable. And I think the Rams are not equipped to handle that kind of thing. Plus, I've still got that futures bet on the Rams under the win total, so I have to root against them in every spot. And, when they're a pick 'em against a superior team, I have to pick the superior team in Seattle. So I'm rolling with Seattle in this game. I think that this is not an easy one, but I think this is going to be a significantly easier one than the back and forth they had earlier this year.
Yeah, the LA defense has been freaking. We talked about Jekyll and Hyde earlier. The LA defense, in their past 9 games, they are 6-3. In their 6 wins, they have allowed 13 points or less in all of the wins.
Okay.
In their 3 losses, they have allowed 30, 45, and 50.
Wow.
So, really, it all depends on what LA defense would show up in that spot.
Yeah.
I would also be on the side of Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks in that spot. All right, and the stinker to end the week. Philadelphia, 9.5-point favorites against the Giants. I never even looked at this game a second time. I can't trust Philly after that fucking Sunday game against the Dolphins. I think that they're going to buck the trend and everybody's going to be all over money. Right now, money's 60-40. Action is 60-40 on covers in favor of that plus 9.5 for the Giants. So it would make me think, the Eagles will beat them 26-10. But I'm not even risking it. Total's 45.5. I'm not even watching this. I'm staying away from it. It doesn't interest me. But if I had to be on a side, I think Philadelphia would roll by 14 to 17 points.
Yeah, this is I'm with you on the who gives a fuck.
Danny Dimes, Eli Manning back in too, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, Danny Dimes is doubtful. So, okay, what were our percentage things again?
Oh.
Doubtful is what, 4%?
Doubtful is 25 or under.
No, remember we debunked that myth?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It went down to
4 or 5%, I thought.
Yeah, well, and that was the weird thing. It was supposed to be 25%, but only like 5% of the players actually played when they were listed as doubtful.
Yeah. So, anyways, Danny Dimes is doubtful. Let's put it that way.
All right. So no Danny Dimes then, and I didn't realize that Eli was going back in.
Does that change anything about this for you?
No, I'm not. I'm still not touching the game. The only person that is Token, and he's on the totals. So
really, I'd have thought you'd been on Eli and the Giants money line.
No, this is Staying away from it completely. Yeah, I think this is going to be a stinker. I think this is going to be a snore fest, and I'm not looking forward to this even getting airtime. So, yeah, I have no idea what to make of Philadelphia, and with the Giants are just a complete wreck. What's the Giants' record right now? I don't have that in front of me.
I will have it in front of me. 2-10.
I feel bad for a buddy of mine because their predicted win total at the beginning of the year was 6.5. And he drove from his house in northern New Jersey to go to Atlantic City specifically. Well, I mean, he kind of was like, oh, yeah, I'm going for vacation. But he went specifically to make a bet on the Giants over the win total.
And he said that we thank you.
He said, oh, this is a no-brainer. Oh, yeah, this is going to happen. I mean, he's a Giants fan, so it's kind of in his nature to be
rose-colored glasses
bluster and, yeah, that whole thing. And, plus he's... New York, New Jersey Italian, so, he's always going to hint that he's mobbed up, and every fucking one of those.
And it's unfortunate for Patriots fans because, I mean, the Giants, with the exception of 2 seasons, are fucking terrible over the last 20.
Yep.
But they're 2 very important seasons in Patriots history.
Yes, they are.
It's incredibly unfortunate because they literally have that trump card if you even try to open your mouth.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. But.
Yep, it is. And that's going to get Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame. The only reason he's going to get it, too.
God, that makes me sick.
Yep.
You're completely right, but still makes me sick.
Yep, fair. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for week number
14.
Let's go over the picks. I'll start with mine. In the 7 game, I have Denver and Houston under 42.5. Also in the 3 game, that's also I've got in the 3 game. I also have Carolina plus 160 to get the bonus point. Indianapolis plus 150 to get the bonus point over Tampa Bay. I have the New York Jets minus 5.5. I also have Tennessee and Oakland under 47.5. Also in my 3 game. The Chiefs money line, which Spike has so graciously offered me an early Christmas present of those 5 cents to hopefully get the bonus point in that spot. And I also have the Chiefs plus 3 in my 7 game and 3 game, which makes the 3 game a plus 2.5.
Yeah, I was going to say, you lose a point in that one, so.
Right.
All right. Yeah, so for my picks, I have Baltimore and Buffalo going under the total of 44. San Francisco plus 2 against New Orleans. I have Cincinnati money line plus 260. Don't tail that bet. That's going to lose. Miami and the Jets. I have Miami money line plus a 200. Tennessee and Oakland minus. I got Tennessee minus 2.5. I've got the Jaguars money line plus 150 over the Chargers, and I have Seattle as a pick'em against the LA Stinkers. Fake token is under the total of Washington and Green Bay of 42.5. For the Indy and Tampa game, he's got Indy plus 3.5, and he's going under the total of 46.5. For the Chargers and Jacksonville, he's got Jacksonville money line with me plus the 150, and he's under the total of 42.5. Tennessee and Oakland, he's going under the total of 47.5, and Pittsburgh and Arizona, he's staying under the total of 43.5. Real token.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Dice next.
Oh, do you want the... Oh, yeah.
Everybody's got to get prepared for tokens picks
Fair
so
enough.
they can write
All
the
right.
fades.
For the dice, they are taking Buffalo money line plus 215 against Baltimore.
I don't hate that pick.
I really don't either, actually. Denver and Houston, they're on Denver plus 9. They're on the Browns minus 7 against the Bengals. With the Dolphins and Jets, they are under the total of 46. Tampa Bay minus 3 over Indianapolis. So if Tampa Bay wins that one, we are all in a hole against the dice. Because that's
If they cover. Right?
If they go minus the 3.
Yeah.
Tennessee and Oakland taking the Raiders plus 2.5 and taking the Rams against the Seattle Seahawks as a pick'em.
All right, everybody, get your pens and pencils ready. Get your textbooks open, and it is time for Tokens Fade of the Week.
Here we go. He is on the over for Indianapolis and Tampa Bay. He has 2 picks on the Miami and Jets game. He is rolling with the Dolphins, plus the 5.5 and the money line plus 200. In Detroit and Minnesota, he is under the total, 43.5. Baltimore and Buffalo, he is also under the total of 44, which I just realized is the same as one of my picks, so fuck you, Token. Seattle and the
He
Rams.
hits 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah, I know, but I need to get above him and whatever. Seattle and the Rams, he is on Seattle in the as a pick'em, and he is the only one rolling on the Monday night game, taking the under the total of 45.5.
All right, fair enough. There's the picks. You got them. Write them down. Tail us, fade token. That should be the new hashtag. Tail us, fade token.
That's not bad, actually.
All right, let's thank the sponsors here before we wrap it up. 12 Ounce Sports Radio, where we air every Friday and Saturday for NCAA Podcast and Sunday for NFL Podcast. And Seat Giant, promo code 12 Ounce Sports for your discounted sporting events, concert, and theater tickets. We will skip the bold predictions this week because Spike has to go get beautified. But do you have any parting shots for Week 14 to let anybody know?
So, if anybody's tailing or fading my picks, just know that my picks now are going to be completely based on how I think the other guys are going to pick, and I have to try to fade them or pick games that they're not on. So don't look to my picks for information. Look to actual good resources
Against the grain, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't forget, this is a man who actually faded himself at one point last year.
That is true, but and as bad as that looked, I still won the postseason contest that we had. So.
Yes, you did. My bold, or I guess it wouldn't be a bold prediction. My lookout for the this weekend is I will say that the sky will be falling in New England. I think, unfortunately, Kansas City's going to walk in there and beat them by a touchdown, and they are going to start calling for heads. Whether that's reasonable, it's obviously not.
Oh, clearly not.
But
it's New England.
New England sports media and sports fans. So, all right, so that's it from us. Again, thank you very much for tuning in. Good luck on your bets. Hashtag tail us fade token. And if you want to follow me at LV Square for the next 48 hours, I'll have my picks up there, and obviously at Spike McAwesome and at Token Tony 89. For Spike, I am Aaron. We are out. We will catch you on the next podcast.